Assembly polls. Mandate 2023.
Hello and a very good afternoon to all News 9 viewers. I'm Neha Bhan. Let's take a look at some of the top national and international stories of this hour. We begin with the latest on the tunnel rescue operations in Uttarkashi. Now, operations to bring out the 41 workers is in the last phase. The operation got stalled on Thursday night when the drilling machine stopped. Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami stayed on site all night to oversee things. Now, the drilling is set to resume. As many as 41 ambulances have been kept on standby at the Ceasefire tunnel site to move the workers to the hospital as soon as they come out. International tunnel expert Arnold Dix says the auger machine encountered a hard substance making drilling difficult last night. He says the workers are barely 6 meters away. However, the officials remain optimistic, saying there might not be a major delay. The National Disaster Management Authority expects the workers to be rescued by the end of the day. Meanwhile, an expert committee has been formed to investigate the tunnel collapse.
नहीं, अभी सिचुएशन काफ़ी ठीक है क्योंकि रात में हमें 2 हिस्सों पे काम करना था. एक तो जो मशीन का प्लेटफॉर्म उसको पुख्ता करना था, रिवैम्प करना था, वो आराम से हमने रिवैम्प कर दिया और रिवैम्प करने के बाद फिर मशीन चला करके ऑगर को निकाल दिया और पाइप के मुंह पर जहाँ पर थोड़ा सा कहीं पे दबाव था उसको दबाव को हटाने के लिए पाइप को काटने का काम अभी चल रहा है और मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ अगले घंटे में वो काम हमारा कंप्लीट हो जाना चाहिए. वो कंप्लीट हो जाने के बाद फिर हम जो हमारी नॉर्मल प्रक्रिया है ऑगर ड्रिलिंग की उसके लिए अपनी तैयारी करेंगे. मशीन में ऑगर भेजेंगे, वेल्ड करेंगे नया हिस्सा और फिर जोड़ करके नई ड्रिलिंग शुरू करेंगे. उसमें हमारे लिए एक बहुत बड़ा पॉजिटिव है, जैसे मैं कह रहा था पहले कुछ साथियों से आपके, कि पार्सन्स कंपनी ने ग्राउंड पेनिट्रेशन रडार से जो स्टडी की है उसमें हमने ये पाया है कि अगले 5 मीटर तक 45 के बियॉन्ड कोई मेटेलिक ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन नहीं है. इसका मतलब साफ है कि हमारी जो ड्रिलिंग है वो स्मूथ होनी चाहिए. क्योंकि जो मैं कह रहा था जब हम पुराना मलबा निकाल रहे थे उसमें हमें 2 मैंगल्ड पाइप्स, बिल्कुल ही घूमे हुए मुड़े हुए पाइप्स मिले हैं. इसका मतलब पहले वो कहीं हमारे लिए उलझन कर रहे थे. अब हमारी उम्मीद काफ़ी अच्छी बनी हुई है. काम हमने बहुत सहज तरीके से कर दिया है, जिसका प्रमाण ये है कि उसके ऊपर मशीन रात में चला करके हमने ऑगर को वापस खींच लिया है. उसके बाद पाइप के मुंह पर थोड़ी सी अड़चन थी, पिचकन थी. उस पिचकन को निकालने के लिए हमारे पास एक ही साधन है कि उस 1-1.5 मीटर के हिस्से को हम काट कर बाहर करें. तो जैसे केला छीलते हैं वैसी स्ट्रिप्स में पहले गोल काट करके फिर लंबा काट करके छोटी छोटी स्ट्रिप्स पहले नीचे से फिर ऊपर से काट करके हम बाहर निकालने का काम इस समय कर रहे हैं. क्योंकि थोड़ा सा डिफ़िकल्ट काम है इसलिए उसमें समय लग रहा है, लेकिन मुझे उम्मीद है कि अगले 1-1.5 घंटे के अंदर वो काम हमारा कंप्लीट हो जाना चाहिए. वो काम कंप्लीट होने के बाद फिर हम जो नॉर्मल हमारा ड्रिलिंग का काम है वो हम चालू करेंगे.
Now, my colleague Nivriti Mohan, who is currently in Uttarkashi, spoke to international tunnel expert Arnold Dix as he shed light on the reasons behind the pause and the delay in the rescue mission. Listen in.
So right now we have with us Arnold Dix, who is the tunneling expert from Australia, who has been pitched in by the government or the agencies. Who has pitched you in, sir?
It's the government, the federal government, I think.
Okay. What are the difficulties right now that you are finding while rescuing the workers inside?
Well, the difficulty is that the Himalayas are they've got all their surprises there, and so geologically, technically, from an engineering point of view, scientifically, just when I think I know what's going to happen, something else happens, and so the whole team, especially the Himalayan specialists who are here, we're struggling with all of that. Just the sheer size, the complexity, the dynamics. The mountain's alive. So that's what's really causing us.
What exactly are the geological challenges that you're facing right now?
Well, the first exact geological challenge, it's rocks hitting you on the head, like get really basic. So there's our own protection. There's always the risk that we're going to be injured or killed ourselves as we're doing the rescue. That's everyone who's in there. The mountain's already told us that it's not happy with the first big avalanche, and the risk is that there'll be more, and so we're having to be extra alert and vigilant for any warning signs that another collapse is going to occur. And that, because it's the Himalayas, there's nothing like it. This is as dangerous, as difficult as it gets anywhere on the planet.
You were telling me that it is continuously falling. How many times have you faced obstructions or obstacles while working to dig in or
well, everyone who's working in there, that's all the time. So it's not raining rocks in the sense that when we're in there we're all getting hit on the head, but we've got all sorts of scientific equipment set up there with laser beams and everything all fired around, watching the rock, making sure it's not moving, analysing anything that falls. It's like alive in there, and not just rocks falling, but listening, touching. So, when I go into the tunnel, I actually touch the walls. I feel what the rock is doing. I'm listening to what the rock is saying. Really trying to understand how it's about to move, because I know if it moves very much, that's it for all of us. So, it's you've got to concentrate.
Right. So, one obstruction was cleared yesterday, and there is another obstacle that is there, and you were telling us that you have seen the auger machine get lifted from the ground for the first time ever.
Yep. Yeah, it's the first time.
What is it?
So the auger machine is one of the most powerful machines on Earth. It's not the most powerful, but it's one of the most powerful machines on Earth, and its job is to basically drill a hole through rock and push a pipe. That's the rescue pipe. And yesterday, in the end, that auger machine was ripped from the earth itself and up into the air. It just couldn't do it. So that just gives you, and that's not surprising. That's just the sheer enormity of the forces and the tasks that we're asking of that particular machine. It's just really, really difficult. So overnight, the engineers have gone back, built a new place for the auger machine, attached it again to the mountain, fixed some other things that needed to be fixed. Try again today.
So it is aligned as of now?
Yeah, it's aligned. Yeah.
But has the work started where it was stalled at this point only, sir?
Yeah, so it was stalled because it ripped out of the ground, but also we're going through a zone of obstructions now, and so that's a combination of metal and all sorts of things. It's like the debris from when the avalanche happened. And that is literally millimetre by millimetre, because you have to physically cut iron girders, you have to physically cut pieces of machinery, you have to just crawl. You're literally going through a battlefield.
Did you find any technical flaw inside the tunnel that could have triggered this accident? You were telling about the shape of the girder.
Yeah. So in order for a tunnel to be stable, it needs to have a special shape, and that special shape is how we can trick a mountain into letting us have a tunnel in it. So otherwise, no way you can have a tunnel because the mountain's too heavy. I think looking at it, the shape of the tunnel and the way in which that shape has been maintained, I think that's what we'll have to re-look at, to think about what shape should we have in a place where the ground is so difficult.
There was a problem with the shape. That is what you could analyse.
I'm saying for the ground conditions, you need the right shape. It's collapsed, therefore it can't have been the right shape. Of course, looking back, you'd say, well, it must be the wrong shape, but did they know before? I don't know. I haven't investigated how much knowledge there was of the problem of the collapsing and the shape. But I expect in the future that your tunnels will be better than they are now.
That is the next question that I was about to
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah.
Do we have some lessons to learn
Absolutely.
here, and
Yeah.
is it going to change the way tunnels
Yeah.
will be built in India?
I've got no doubt about that at all, and it's the authorities that got me here, and I know that they are absolutely intent on this never happening again. So I'd expect to see some quite significant changes here. I think yesterday
Did they ask you for some suggestions?
they have, but I still haven't had that meeting because I said to them, like I've said to you, I don't want to even, for the moment, consider any of those things until we have the 41 men safe. After they're home safe, okay.
How many meters away are we from them?
My best guess is maybe 3 or 4,
4 meters.
maybe 6, not more.
And the difficult 6 meters, 7
Yeah.
meters.
Yeah, it's difficult. Having said that, every metre is difficult, and these are no exception. And these are proving to be really difficult because of all the debris that we're finding there. And what's wonderful is we're not finding bodies there; we're just finding debris there. And that's one of the things that makes me so happy about this. We're discussing not whether we've found a missing worker; we're just discussing getting to the workers. So that makes me quite happy.
And we should approach gradually.
Absolutely. The advice that I think all of us have given, because we're a big group, there's no big boss. Well, there is a big boss, but the big boss doesn't behave like a big boss. The big boss talks to all of us. We're all saying just gently, just bit by bit, we want the 41 people home.
My colleague Nivriti joins us live from Uttarkashi. Nivriti, a very good afternoon to you. Hope you're doing well. I want to know from you, Nivriti, to begin with, workers have been trapped inside the tunnel for 13 days now. How long do you think it's going to take before they're finally rescued?
See, there are different timelines being given by the authorities here, but right now the official timeline has not been given because after the obstruction that we faced day before yesterday, and that obstruction was cleared, that obstacle was cleared, and it took around the entire night it took to be cleared. Now there is another obstacle that is there, and the authorities were just now a few minutes or an hour back were telling us that the new obstacle that is there, they are working on it. And because the pipe has also bent, something had fallen on the machine, and as you were listening to Arnold speaking about it, and he was telling us that the pressure was so high that the auger machine, which is very heavy, and he has never seen an auger machine to be lifted from the backside. So the auger machine also got lifted. So first of all, they had to align the auger machine. That took around 2 to 3 hours to align it, and until yesterday night when we were here, up to 10 p.m. it was not aligned. After that, they were working on the alignment of the machine, and they got it aligned, but still the drilling has not begun. And yesterday when we were speaking to the authorities, they were telling us that after the drilling starts, there are 3 pipelines that are to be inserted through the hole that they will be drilling, and these 3 pipes will take 4 hours each. And after that, NDRF will do its own preparations, for which cumulative number of hours that they suggested was around 15 hours time they will take for the rescue after the drilling starts. So drilling has not begun yet, so we can expect that after the drilling begins, they need to insert those pipes, and also they need to weld those pipes, and when the welding is done, they also need to cool down that welding, so that the other pipe is also inserted after that. So it is a long procedure. We cannot tell about the timelines. We cannot say how much time will it take for the workers to come out. And as Arnold has also told us, that we should move ahead gradually. We should not hurry up, because it is very risky, because the mountain, the muck is continuously falling as they are working and drilling and going towards the workers. It is continuously falling and damaging machines. It is damaging pipes as well, which are being inserted. And as it is officially told to us that they are right now working on cutting the pipe that has bent because of the pressure. So now it will take 1 or 2 hours to cut that pipe, and after that they will start the auger machine will start working and it will start drilling, and then the rest of the pipes will be put in. Now what has happened, the authorities were telling us that they had moved in up to 48 meters. Now because they had to cut the pipe, the distance has again come back to 46 meters. So earlier yesterday they were telling us that 46.8 meters has already been drilled and digged, through which they are inserting pipes, and after that work got stalled due to that obstacle that had come in the way of the machine. But now we can expect, they were earlier telling us that the drilling will start at 11:30 a.m. but it hasn't started yet. So to give a timeline or to give a deadline, it is very difficult to give a deadline right now.
Right. Nivriti, I also want to know from you, what is it about the site, particularly that the experts, including international tunnel expert Arnold Dix, like you also spoke to him, haven't been really able to figure out, one of the reasons that was given to us was it is because of the loose soil. Is there more to it? What is it about the site?
Look, everybody is talking about this is the Himalayan region, of course, and it is very fragile. They are very young mountains. The Indian tectonic plates and the Eurasian tectonic plates are here, and they keep on colliding. And whenever they collide, the Himalayan mountains keep on growing. With the collision, they get fragile also. So in Uttarakhand especially, the area that is fragile is more than the area that is very strong. So here also it seems that this area has some loose soil and it is continuously falling. And another reason that can be there, as Arnold told us, though it has to be said by the authorities to us, until then it is just a assumption. So Arnold was telling us that there is, when we put a structure, the strengthening structure that had fallen, there was some problem in that structure. The shape was not correct as he suggested. So that is also to be investigated. Might be there is some flaw with the structure as well, but this is all to be investigated. We cannot say anything about it right now, but one of the reasons, and it is a very strong reason, when you build in the Himalayas, you have to be sensitive towards the Himalayas, and you have to respect the mountains, because they are very young mountains, very fragile mountains, and you need to have a discussion. Arnold was telling me that you need to discuss with the mountains. When you plan something like this, you need to discuss it with the mountains. You cannot just do what you want to do. You have to discuss it with the mountains, and mountains will tell you what you need to do. So maybe there was something lacking here.
Right. Nivriti, finally, before I let you go, I want to know from you, what is the health condition of the trapped workers?
About the health condition, yesterday Chief Minister of Uttarakhand and General V.K. Singh, both of them spoke to the workers inside. So they sounded okay, but they are there inside for last more than 12 days without sunlight. Of course, sunlight is very important for human beings, and you must have heard and you must have interviewed psychologists many a times saying that due to lack of sunlight you get depressed. So there are chances that they are a bit worried and depressed also. But yesterday when the Chief Minister spoke to them, and he told them that the Prime Minister is also inquiring about their well-being. So these are small things that make them hopeful, and of course not very happy, but there is a small amount of happiness that this gesture gives to them and keeps their morale boosted. So yes, the CM has spoken to them and they sounded well. Many of them have complained about some medical conditions, and they have said that they are not feeling well, stomach ache, etc. So medicines are also being supplied to them. All the medicines are being supplied to them, all the essential items are being supplied to them. So they are hopeful that they will be soon out of the tunnel. And also, it was not that only hopes were, only positive things were told to them. The CM also told them that what are the obstacles that are coming in front of the workers who are working day and night to rescue them. He also told them that why it took so much of time. So they are being updated of everything. Everything is being told to them, and workers inside do feel that they will be soon out of the tunnel, because the distance, as Arnold has told us, that 4-5 meters of difficult distance is remaining, and another 7 to 8 meters is not that difficult. So once they cover this 4-5 meters, earlier authorities were telling us that 40 to 50 meters of the distance is very difficult, because it is sensitive, because the muck is falling continuously on the machine, on the pipelines. So everything is being told to them, and they are very positive. It is also told to them that it is not very far away that they will be out of this tunnel, where they are stuck for more than 12 days now. They are hopeful, authorities are hopeful, everybody here is hopeful. You can see the ambulances here. They are standing here, and the people, the driver, the paramedics, the pharmacists who are here day and night, the vehicles are parked here, the ambulances are parked here, and the people who are deployed in these ambulances, they are day and night they are here. They are sleeping in the ambulance. So they have also not gone home, because everybody wants the workers to be out soon, so that the medical facilities that have been arranged for them. I have also sent some visuals, some exclusive visuals of the 41-bed facility that has been created specially for these workers in Chindiali Sor, which is 20 to 30 kilometers away from this spot. So every effort is being made, and every effort is being made for their medical treatment also. If they face any difficulty, they can be airlifted to Rishikesh AIMS as well. If the 41 medical facility doesn't suffice and somebody needs more attention, the person can be shifted to Rishikesh AIMS as well.
Right.
So all these arrangements are there. People are working day and night. I just spoke to one of the operators. You can see this machine there. Rahul, if you can show that machine. You can see that machine there. This is the machine which was used to dig the pipeline, 6-inch pipeline, which is right now the lifeline for the workers. This machine drilled a 6-inch hole, and a 6-inch pipeline was inserted, through which right now the workers are getting medicine, food, water, which was not earlier being supplied to them, because there was no such pipeline inserted earlier. So they also worked very hard. So everybody is working very hard here, and everyone wishes that the workers should come out soon and they should go home hale and healthy.
Right, so do we, Nivriti here. Thank you very much for joining us with all of those updates. Well, now let's take you to Israel, and let's also take a look what's been happening on the Israel-Hamas war front.
Disturbing, graphic, or sensitive in nature. Viewer discretion is advised. This material is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all viewers. Please exercise caution while watching, and if you find such content distressing, we recommend discontinuing viewing. This disclaimer is provided to ensure awareness and to prioritize viewer well-being.
Now, the war between Israel and Hamas has entered its 49th day. Let's get you the latest update right on your screens. Now, the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas has finally taken effect. First group of captives held in Gaza will be released this evening, India time, 13 women and children are expected to be released. At least 14,532 Palestinians have been killed in the war. 6,000 children have been killed in the conflict so far. That's the latest coming in from day 49 of the Israel-Hamas war. Now, a 4-day truce in the Israel-Hamas conflict has finally taken effect. Some of the hostages held in the Gaza Strip are set to be released later in the day in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. In the deal struck between Israel and Hamas, brokered by Qatar, Egypt and the United States, it is expected that 50 Israeli hostages will be returned in exchange for a 4-day pause in hostilities and the release of 150 Palestinians. 13 Israeli women and children hostages are expected to be released during the day. The truce agreement brought the first pause in a 7-week-old war that has killed thousands of people. Both sides have agreed to resume the fight after the temporary stop. Now, these will be complicated days and nothing is certain. Even during this process, there could be changes. Control over northern Gaza is the first step of a long war and we are preparing for the next stage, Israeli military spokesperson Daniel Hagari has said. Israel stepped up its attack on Gaza. Israeli jets hit over 300 targets and the troops engaged in fighting around the Jabalia refugee camp in North Gaza. Hamas is believed to have taken at least 240 Israelis as hostages during its October 7 deadly assault attack inside southern Israel. Now, Israeli forces continued its operations in the Israeli-occupied West Bank city of Nablus. One Palestinian was killed by Israeli army gunfire during the raid in Balata camp in the city. Residents said that Israeli forces stormed the camp overnight with dozens of military vehicles and that clashes were taking place in the camp between a number of Palestinian gunmen and the army. One Palestinian has been killed by the Israeli army during the raid in the Balata camp in the city. IDF raided Nablus in the West Bank. Now, that's the latest coming in. In fact, today the Israeli forces and the Hamas, there is a truce, a 4-day truce in the Israel-Hamas conflict that has finally taken place. An Israeli army video released on Thursday showed Israeli military chief of staff Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi speaking to commanders in Gaza and saying fighting will continue until we are victorious, quote unquote. Both Israel and Hamas said they will go back to fighting once the truce is over. Listen in.
אנחנו מנסים לחבר בין מטרות המלחמה שהלחץ בתמרון הוא זה שיביא את היכולת להשיג גם את מטרת המלחמה הזו, לייצר את התנאים לשחרור החטופים. אנחנו לא מסיימים את המלחמה. אנחנו ממשיכים עד הניצחון והולכים קדימה וממשיכים באזורים אחרים של חמאס.
Now, war continued to rage on in Gaza before the truce took effect today. The Israeli army released videos on Thursday it claimed showed strikes on Hamas targets in Gaza. The Israeli military said it had launched 300 airstrikes and sounded siren warnings of cross-border rocket launches by Hamas terrorists. Israeli strikes were reported in the northern areas as well as in the southern city of Khan Yunis, where Israel has asked North residents to seek shelter. Now, war raged on in Gaza on Thursday as a proposed truce and release of hostages was delayed for at least another day. Now, this happened on Thursday. Columns of smoke from blasts rose from northern Gaza, seen from southern Israel. Israel said the release of hostages meant to be accompanied by the war's first ceasefire would be delayed at least until Friday. Palestinians searched through rubble in Rafah after Israeli strikes. The city is located along the southern Gazan border with Egypt and in fact has come under several attacks. Water, fuel and medical supplies are running out across the region. Despite a proposed truce and hostages release being delayed, rescuers and local workers have been working to find anyone trapped in the damaged buildings. Take a look. Now, Israel shared a video alleging a Hamas tunnel entrance beneath a civilian's home situated on a street it claims runs parallel to Al-Shifa hospital. The footage shows Israel's military spokesperson Daniel Hagari inspecting the damaged house where Israeli troops found what they assert is the tunnel entrance, showcased with a chalkboard in a room. Take a look.
רגע, עוד לא קדימה. אוקיי. ניכנס לפה.
Switching our focus now, far-right populist Geert Wilders wins big in Dutch elections. Wilders, known for his strong stance against immigration, the EU and Islam, is now a leading candidate for Netherlands' next Prime Minister after a surprising win in the recent election. However, to take office, he needs to rally support from other parties for a coalition government. His campaign focused on stopping what he termed the asylum tsunami, blaming it for various societal problems like housing shortages and healthcare expenses. He aims to halt refugee asylum and EU labour movement, proposing work visas instead. Wilders also advocates revoking temporary asylum permits for Syrians and deporting criminal offenders after stripping them of Dutch nationality. Now, who is Geert Wilders? Right on your screens. This is, in fact, he opposes Islamic headscarves in government buildings. He's a far-right populist leader and he wants Netherlands to withdraw from UN's Paris Climate Agreement. He's known for his strong stance against immigration, the EU, as well as Islam. Wilders' Freedom Party secured 37 seats out of 150, surpassing expectations. Wilders aims to focus on immigration control. Netherlands' political structure is expected to moderate his more extreme proposals, as he'll need to collaborate with other parties to form a coalition government. Analysts say this outcome is comparable to the Trump movement in the United States, signaling a significant shift in the country's political landscape. Listen in.
It's an earthquake. You can call it an earthquake. Nobody expected this result. PVV, which more or less is the radical populist outlier in Dutch politics, becoming the biggest party, Prime Minister's party perhaps even, that was really not expected by anyone. Not even by Geert Wilders, the potential Prime Minister himself. Geert Wilders is a bit like the French Le Pen. Or this is the Trump moment of Dutch politics. Trump becoming the next president again. So this is part of an international trend. It's not an anti-Islam vote. It's not an anti-EU vote. No, it's more a middle finger against the establishment in The Hague. This vote for Geert Wilders is not a mandate for an exit. Not at all. 80% of the Netherlands support the EU. They are against an exit because we are a very international, connected economy. The internal market, single market is very important for the Dutch economy. So I think the common sense in the Netherlands is we are pro-EU.
Now, Dutch Greenpeace activists protested Wilders' win by jumping into the Parliament pond. Their demonstration aimed to express worries over Wilders' victory and his stance on climate change, as he's expressed intentions to exit the Paris Climate Agreement and reduce spending on climate goals. According to protesters, Wilders' win serves as a warning to mainstream parties in Europe, foreshadowing the focus of upcoming European Parliament elections on immigration, living expenses and concerns. Listen in.
We have someone who treats large groups of people as second-class citizens, someone who denies the climate crisis and the seriousness of the nitrogen crisis, who wants to get out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Such a person could become the Prime Minister of our country. Greenpeace thinks that's unacceptable, so that's why we say no climate denier in the tower.
Now, Dutch protesters gathered against far-right populist leader Wilders' elections victory, causing concern for Muslims and the LGBT plus community. The demonstrators, some with rainbow flags and Palestinian flags, marched in opposition to Wilders and his Freedom Party. Protesters claimed that there are almost no rights left for minorities and people from the community. However, police later intervened at one point to separate the demonstrators from counter-protesters. Take a look. Now, French far-right leader Marine Le Pen praised Dutch anti-EU and anti-Islam populist leader Wilders' apparent election victory, interpreting it as a signal that Europeans are prepared for a shift in how European institutions primarily function. Listen in.
Of course, I welcome this victory because Geert Wilders and his movement are allies of the National Rally. They are part of the Identity and Democracy group in the European Parliament, and he demonstrates that more and more countries within the European Union are contesting its functioning, and rightly so, and hope that we can once again control immigration, which is considered by many European people to be both massive and today totally anarchic. I think that this is the consequence of all these worries, all these fears which have been rising in Europe for several years. Fears over the war in Ukraine, fears about the risk of European economic downgrading compared to China and the United States, and fears about migratory flows.
Switching our focus now, in Dublin, a knife attack left 5 people injured, including 3 young children, which triggered riots. Anti-immigrant protesters clashed with police, setting fires and looting. The 40-year-old suspect is in the custody, and authorities haven't ruled any motive over, including whether it could be a terror-related incident.
Rioting broke out in Dublin on Thursday after a knife attack. Anti-immigrant protesters clashed with riot police, burned down cars and buses, and looted shops. That's after a 40-year-old man went on a stabbing spree in the early afternoon that injured 5 people, among them 3 young children, including a 5-year-old girl who had serious injuries. The 40-year-old man remains in custody, though police would not comment on his nationality. The government says all lines of inquiry related to the attack remained open, contradicting a senior officer who earlier told reporters it wasn't terror-related. Later on Thursday, groups of anti-immigration protesters broke through the police barrier at the scene. Some shouted, "Get them out," and the riot spiraled out of control. Hundreds of officers had to be deployed to restore public order. Public transport was suspended, and patients advised not to travel to a nearby maternity hospital unless absolutely necessary. Ireland's Justice Minister said thugs and criminals were using the knife attack to sow division. Such rioting is almost unprecedented in Dublin. There are no far-right parties or politicians elected to Parliament, but small anti-immigrant protests have grown in the last year. Net migration to Ireland surged to its highest levels on record last year, after the outbreak of the Russia-Ukraine war.
Now in Nepal, clashes erupted between protesters and the police on Thursday. The demonstrators were divided into two groups with different demands. One group, the Youth Organization Nepal, linked to the main opposition Communist Party of Nepal, called for the removal of the current government led by the Prime Minister, citing corruption concerns. On the other side, the pro-monarchy Durga Prasai group sought to reinstate Nepal as a Hindu state. The clashes between these groups led to injuries, with at least 30 people, including 5 policemen, were reported hurt. Now, riot police used batons and tear gas to disperse the protesters. The Youth Organization Nepal staged their protest rally near the Tribhuvan International Airport in the Tinkuni area, while the Durga Prasai group organized their demonstration in the Balkhu area on the outskirts of Kathmandu. Both groups expressed dissatisfaction with the governments that have been in power since the monarchy was abolished about 15 years ago. They claimed these governments failed to fulfill commitments to develop Nepal, which remains one of the poorest countries globally. Now, before OpenAI CEO Sam Altman's 4 days in exile, several staff researchers had warned the board about a powerful artificial intelligence discovery that they said could threaten humanity. Take a look.
There's another twist in the OpenAI saga involving a possible breakthrough in artificial intelligence and a staff letter warning the board about it before CEO Sam Altman's brief firing. That's according to people familiar with the matter, who told Reuters the researchers' letter raised concerns that the discovery could threaten humanity. The sources said this was a key development ahead of Altman's sudden Friday ouster from the company that made the powerful chatbot ChatGPT. Altman was reinstalled late Tuesday after hundreds of employees threatened to quit. Reuters was unable to review the letter, and OpenAI declined to comment on it. According to one of the sources, the project involved is called QStar, and some internally believed progress made on QStar could be a breakthrough in the startup's search for superintelligence, also known as artificial general intelligence. OpenAI defines AGI as AI systems that surpass humans in most economically valuable tasks. Reuters could not independently verify the capabilities of QStar. Altman has previously spoken of concerns over superintelligent machines that are shared by many computer scientists.
My worst fears are that the field, the technology, the industry, cause significant harm to the world.
The board had vaguely cited a lack of candor and the need to defend OpenAI's mission to develop AI that benefits humanity in firing Altman. Before the issue of the letter came to light, Cornell University's Tech Policy Institute director Sarah Krebs said the saga will dog the company until more answers are given.
What was sort of the grave misstep, and should we be concerned? Should investors be concerned? Should governments be concerned? Should citizens be concerned? So without a bit more transparency, I do think those will be some unanswered questions that will linger.
Krebs said the new board installed alongside Altman's return as CEO appears to be more aligned with his vision of accelerating the development of AI, while, she says, also ensuring safeguards are in place.
Oscar-winning actor Jamie Foxx is being sued for allegedly groping a woman at a Manhattan rooftop bar in 2015. A lawsuit filed in New York on Wednesday identifies the plaintiff only as Jane Doe. It says the sexual assault occurred after she and a friend approached the film star and had their pictures taken with him.
Oscar-winning actor Jamie Foxx is being sued for allegedly groping a woman at a Manhattan rooftop bar in 2015. A lawsuit filed in New York on Wednesday identifies the plaintiff only as Jane Doe. It says the sexual assault occurred after she and a friend approached the film star and had their pictures taken with him. Fox's representatives did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The complaint says Foxx began groping the woman and putting his hands under her clothes against her will, until her friend found the two of them and interrupted the encounter. Jane Doe is seeking unspecified damages. Foxx is best known for his Academy Award-winning portrayal of singer Ray Charles in the 2004 film Ray. The actor is one of the latest high-profile celebrities accused of sexual wrongdoing in a recent series of lawsuits filed under the Adult Survivors Act. The New York state law allows victims of sexual abuse to sue alleged abusers even if the statutes of limitations have run out. The deadline for the special one-year window for such complaints expires at the end of this month.
Amid clashes on Lebanon's border with Israel, around 50,000 people, according to the UN, have been displaced. The region faces economic struggles aggravated by the influx of refugees, leading to tensions among locals. Many refugees encountering hostility and limited job opportunities are considering leaving for Europe or other countries. Take a look.
Rose Rostam has had her life uprooted before. This time, she's among the some 50,000 people the UN says have been displaced because of clashes on Lebanon's border with Israel. On October 7th, a war started between Gaza and Israel. Hezbollah started firing at Israel, and we live near the border in a village called Burj al-Malouk. Then the shells began to land very close. And we have children. Of course, they get very scared. We couldn't stay in the house and hear the shelling and firing. We were frightened. We then went to Sidon, to my brother-in-law's house. It marks the third time conflict has driven her from her home. During Lebanon's civil war in the 1980s, she moved twice. The first time because of Israeli bombardment. The second was to flee Palestinian militant attacks. Lebanon is a nation of displaced peoples. The influx of Palestinians following the creation of Israel in 1948 helped spark the Lebanese Civil War decades later. In 2006, hundreds of thousands were displaced during the Israel and Hezbollah war. Then came Syria's civil war in 2011, which led to the arrival of 1.5 million refugees. That, combined with the 2019 financial collapse, which destroyed Lebanon's economy, has left many without an income or job. The combination of economic despair and the influx of refugees is sparking tension with locals. Meanwhile, many refugees, faced with growing hostility and low work prospects, are eyeing Europe and other countries. Rostam says her family used to be comfortable when her husband sold car parts. But he was forced to close up shop when the fighting began. Now she checks the news to see if her house was among the latest hit by rockets.
Following North Korea's announcement of deploying stronger armed forces and new weapons on its border with the South, South Korea has chosen to partially suspend an inter-Korean agreement. Now, this decision comes in response to North Korea's successful launch of its inaugural military spy satellite into the orbit. Additionally, South Korea plans to recommence frontline aerial surveillance of North Korea, while South Korea's military has verified the satellite's entry into the orbit. It underscores the necessity for additional time to confirm its functionality.
North Korea said on Thursday it would scrap a military deal with the South and deploy more troops along their shared border. That's after Seoul suspended part of a 2018 pact with the North a day earlier, in protest over Pyongyang's launch of a spy satellite earlier this week. North Korea's defense ministry said in a statement, quote, "From now on, our army will never be bound by the September 19th North-South military agreement," and, quote, "We will withdraw the military steps taken to prevent military tension and conflict in all spheres, including ground, sea, and air, and deploy more powerful armed forces and new type military hardware in the region along the military demarcation line." The statement came hours after Pyongyang fired a ballistic missile toward the sea on Wednesday. South Korea said that launch appeared to have failed. Tuesday's satellite launch was North Korea's third attempt this year, after 2 failures. It came after North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, made a rare trip to Russia, during which Russian President Vladimir Putin vowed deeper cooperation, including helping Pyongyang build satellites. Seoul says it's likely Russia helped in technical aspects of the launch, which drew condemnation worldwide for flouting UN resolutions that bar Pyongyang from tech that could be used in ballistic missile programs. Seoul believes the satellite has entered orbit, but said it needs more time to work out if it was functional. In response to the launch, South Korean Prime Minister Hang Duck-soo announced partially suspending the 919 agreement, an inter-Korean military pact signed in 2018, until, quote, "mutual trust is restored between the two Koreas." One of the concrete steps is immediately resuming military observation of the North's forces in border areas. The U.S. says Seoul's suspension of the deal was a, quote, "prudent and restrained response," citing Pyongyang's, quote, "failure to adhere to the agreement."
Now, Yemen is facing a severe water crisis as the country grapples with drought. To manage, people are using old but reliable ways to collect rainwater. They're building dams, ponds and reservoirs using traditional methods passed down over generations. For centuries, Yemenis have used these techniques to deal with the dry weather, capturing rainwater effectively. Now, local communities and non-governmental organizations are teaming up to implement projects that help rural Yemenis access clean water for their daily needs. It's a joint effort to tackle the challenges posed by the water crisis in the country.
Yemen is one of the world's most water-stressed countries. For 10-year-old Ali Al-Kataimi, that means riding a donkey to fetch well water every day. This area has been hit hard by climate change-induced drought. But to cope, people in some parts of the country are making use of traditional techniques to capture and store water. Those methods have helped people with the region's arid climate for centuries. In this district, about 25 miles west of the capital, a local resident says 10,000 people rely on this dam, as well as livestock. A water supply point in town has really helped, according to this resident. He says it's eased the burden on everyone in the community. They're often tired from fetching water. According to the United Nations, about 14.5 million people in Yemen do not have access to safe drinking water and reliable sanitation. There are ponds and reservoirs scattered around the country, and others being built, like this cistern. It's under construction thanks to help from an NGO. The project manager says people cannot rely on groundwater in the mountainous region, so they need to harvest rainwater from seasonal rains instead. This local community leader describes it as a gift that will keep water drinkable. But climate change and rapid population growth are always looming in the background, putting pressure on already limited resources.
In Pakistan's far north, a villager in Hunza Valley is on a mission to fight for the future of his village. The area is increasingly under threat from unstable lakes formed by the melting glacier. We'll get to this particular report a bit later. In the meantime, Peru's latest government inventory revealed a staggering 56% loss of its tropical glaciers in the past 60 years due to climate change. These glaciers, accounting for 68% of the world's tropical glaciers, are rapidly melting, forming new mountain lagoons that pose a flooding risk. The National Institute of Research of Mountain Glaciers and Ecosystems highlighted this concerning trend using satellite imagery up to 2020. The report shows a reduction from 2,399 square kilometers of ice and snow in 1962 to 1,050 square kilometers, covering 2,084 glaciers in Peru. But that's all we have in this edition of the Bulletin. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day ahead. This is me, Neha, signing off.